we're here. We did it. My button is crooked. Nevertheless.
Your button is crooked?
Yes.
I'm sure.
But hi, you guys. As people are coming back. I told people to stay where they were so they could see me when I came back on, but, you know. My team is on here. I'm not gonna call you guys out. I'm not gonna do it.
Dejanay?
Everybody's on here. Okay.
Who else is on?
So let's do this. Let's make this happen. I'm really excited to do this. We said like a few months ago that we were going to make this a regular thing. So we decided that.
Go ahead.
I don't know what he's doing. We decided that we're gonna do that. So I'm excited to chat with our Facebook friends and followers as I don't even know what we're gonna call this. What do we call it? It's not the Candice and Joshua show. We don't have a name. So if you guys have a name, let us know what you think it should be, and we can decide what this is. But we decided a little bit ago, not a little bit ago, like today, a little bit ago, like a few days ago, that we were gonna go live and just talk to you guys about, just really have like an open discussion, if you will, about marriage and parenthood. I'm getting all these notifications. Okay. What's happening? Oh, we're live on like 15 devices. But yeah, parenthood, marriage, our love life, not too deep, but you know.
What? Wait a second. I missed that. What are we talking about?
No, I said we're not going too far, like deep into our love life, but we're gonna tell a little bit.
Talk about our love life. What you want to talk about?
Our story.
Our story.
So,
okay.
Let's start there. I think that's a good place to start. Let me give some ground rules for this. Since this is our very first one, we're gonna do this again. So never mind. Well, nevertheless, this is our very first one. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay, regardless of where you're watching from. So if you're watching on his page, hashtag replay. My page, hashtag replay. Wherever you're watching, doesn't really matter. So yeah, so let's kind of start with us. Like, who are you? Who are you first? Let's go. If you guys like have no idea, who are you? They know who are you?
I am Joshua.
God, I feel like this is supposed to be real.
No, so I'm Joshua Thomas.
What do you do?
I work, my 9 to 5, or it's really not 9 to 5, but my day job. I'm the director of ministry at the New Psalmist Baptist Church in Baltimore, Maryland. I oversee all the ministry operations and do all that fun stuff.
That is job, baby.
I also, run my own business, have a couple businesses, Profusion LLC. We specialize on infusing creativity in every area and aspect of businesses as well as individuals and so forth. The JAT Media Firm, which, is still operational as well. And, it's a little bit about me. I'm 30 years old. I'm married.
Oh my God.
With 2 kids.
He's making himself just sound so regular. He's so not this like.
I don't know what you're talking about. Go
regular.
Ahead. So
anyway,
who are you? Who are you, wifey?
I'm Candice. Those of you guys that don't know who I am. Hi. I don't know who's watching from what page, but I'm Candice. I am the oldest of the two. So a little fun fact about us: I am 2 months. I was about to say years. Y'all heard that? Not 2 years older. I'm 2 months older than him. Entrepreneur as well. Network marketing maven. You heard it here first. I'm also a birth doula.
What did you just call yourself?
I'm also a birth doula
network marketing
and
maven.
A maven. Is that a word? Is that a thing? Okay, it is today. So yeah, so that's me. We met. So really quick story about us. If you guys have never heard our story before, really quick story about us. We have officially been together now, half of our lives at this point?
Just about.
So since we were 15, it's been a long time. Long time. 15 years.
It's half our lives.
That we've been friends / dated when we were 16 or something like that. Well, half my life now because I'm 31. But we started dating when we were 16. We, dated through high school. We attended all 4 of our proms together, so there will never be a prom picture of us with another. Well, yeah.
Fix it up.
There won't. We went to all 4 of our proms together.
I went to a 5th one.
Exactly. So yeah, so we dated through college and high school, or high school and college, long distance. So I went to school in Atlanta. He went to school in Philadelphia. So we dated through all of that. We both graduated. When did we graduate? We graduated. So I graduated in 2009. He graduated early.
I finished fall 2009.
Yeah.
Finished the semester early.
Yes, we both finished in 2009, and we decided.
I couldn't wait to get home and be with her, so I finished the semester early.
He's not lying. So we both decided. Near graduation, that we were gonna come home, and made a conscious decision together that we were gonna be together, which is something that most 19, 20-year-olds, it's not really a decision.
21
maybe. A lot of our friends who were 21 were not making those kind of life decisions. So we made the decision.
I don't know if any of them were in relationships to make it.
That's probably also true.
I'm trying to think, any of my friends when I was 21, none of them were in relationships where they were at that stage, of kind of getting close to making those type of decisions.
Yeah.
And, many of them were in and out of relationships while we were in relationships. So it's a unique dynamic, as well as our circles there was an ebb and flow, with the circles. Some of those who were, because we're 15, so a lot of people who were in our circle at 15 weren't necessarily still in our circle by 21, because the track that we took was a little different. We went, went high school, then went straight to college, but went away. And we stayed away, so it wasn't, we a lot of people, go away and then transfer home and so forth for whatever reason. But we, were away for a substantial period of time, only home for holidays and, summer break.
Yeah.
And so, our circles, evolved and changed, and I think we built connections with people where we were, which, into new dynamics. Because before school, our lives circles really intersected. Then we went to school, they didn't intersect anymore. I was in Philly, you in Atlanta, and so that was a new phase where we built lives with people that the other didn't know, friendships and relationships and the like. And then made a decision to come back home, which was different. But I think we both, for us, opportunity at home was greater than opportunity where we were. I think, would you agree on that?
Yeah.
The opportunity at home was greater than where we were. And so, and also, we knew that if we both came home, then we could continue. I think we both were done with long distance relationships.
Yeah.
Long distance relationships are no fun, and they're not designed to be forever.
Yeah, we did it for, what,
5 years. From August, and I'm moving this cable because my foot keeps hitting it. August 2005, and it formally ended in December 2009.
Yes.
So that's a very long time. Which camera are you looking at?
I don't know. I'm looking at this one. I think you're looking at that one. It's kind of awkward. It's okay. So yeah, so we made the decision.
So we made a decision to come back, but I think the decision to come back was probably looking back on, our stories, and our story together was probably the pivotal moment where we both said, okay, let's take a step and try this, see what's going to happen. Because that was the first time we made an adult decision together for each other.
Yeah.
And, obviously, didn't really know at the end that was, the first of many adult decisions we'd make.
Yeah.
But that was the first and I don't remember it being
it wasn't like a drawn out thing. It was just like
I know I was pushing for you to come back home, even though I wasn't sure if I was going to come back home. Because Philly and Baltimore are close.
Yeah, it is.
And so I knew if you came back to Baltimore, And if an opportunity opened up in Philly, moving from Baltimore to Philly would not be as difficult as moving from Atlanta to Baltimore.
This is true. Or, yeah, Philly to, yeah.
Right.
That.
And by then, you know, the nature of kind of where I was in life and the work I was doing, you know, that was, you know, 2009, I was, you know, working in ministry. And so it became evident that I was going into a full-time ministry. And so I think we both, well, I know I did at the time, kind of realize that was probably going to really dictate where we went, because you were working in childcare and you could have, you know, found a job just about anywhere.
This is true.
You know, for the most part. So that's kind of where we were in that time.
That's what we did. So fast forward, we got married in 2012. Ava was born in 2014. Joshua was born in 2017. And here we are. We did not, let me be very clear, for those of you guys that came here for a baby announcement, that's not what we're here for.
I hope not. Who came for that?
Because people ask. Like,
somebody who on your team said, is that what y'all want to get online?
No, I just wanted to let the people know. Let me just be very clear. People came like what they want to share. There's nothing. This is us. Nothing. This is us.
This isn't. This nobody is more coming. This is us.
Nobody additional. Nobody additional.
It's just us. We're just two kids having fun.
That's it. I'm far from a child. It's like
yeah, see
extra, a little extra. So, so we wanted to kind of share our story. So I guess, you know, you guys that are watching, I see a couple new faces on my feed that I've never seen with me in a live video before. So hello, you guys. We're just in. Hashtag replay in the comments. But we found, but like we came to this conclusion that we really wanted to be open and kind of transparent about our story and kind of our journey. And like I said, this is the first of prayerfully many. Are you on Instagram?
No, go ahead.
To share our story, because we have one that's pretty unique. There's a lot of layers to our story that we don't really find reflected in millennial marriages these days. You want to talk not all the details, but
well, no, go ahead. What do you mean? What areas you want to talk about?
Just the time that we've been together, being a young millennial couple that's in ministry. A lot of people don't know this, but both of us were celibate, and so we got married.
That's not the right way.
What is it? Abstinent. Sorry.
No, that's not.
What is it? What's the word?
I'm gonna let you see if you figure it out.
Can you tell me, please?
No, so
you let me embarrass myself in public.
Virgins until you got married.
We did not have sex until we got married.
Yeah, those are implying that you started stopped.
Y'all know what I meant. You guys understand my flow. So, what else? Yeah, and I literally dated like one person before we dated as like a kid.
Well, you know, as an adult, you know, I would say, you know, you were your junior year. I was my sophomore year. So, as we got into, you know, that dating age, you know, it was just us. You know, it was just us, and it was a growing time for us. Go to my Facebook page, watch from there.
This is so. Do y'all see this?
Hey, I was on my.
Hi, Morgan. I see people hopping. Oh shoot! Sorry, you guys. I said shoot. I didn't curse. Hi, Raven. Hi, Melina. Hi, y'all. Say hello.
Hi, Raven. Hi, Melina.
Oh no. Okay, there we go.
Hey,
I was
Morgan.
adding people to the thing.
Morgan Johnson.
Y'all no comments on the thing. Anyway, so that's why we came here. We were like, we want to share our story because one, like, we want to just kind of be open and transparent as we move through. You know, the next kind of chapter of our lives, which we're not even fully sure what that's going to be, but a big part of what we want to be and do is hopefully be able to kind of open the book of millennial marriage. I know a lot of my friends that are watching right now, you guys can give me some hearts if you agree. It's not the easiest to find functional, fun, relatable millennials that are married. And that's something that we kind of talked about together. and something that we kind of not set a goal, but like wanted to do. And we also realized that people don't share their stories. We have no idea, how people, not that you need to know like the ins and outs of how people got together, but like, what's your story? What sets you apart?
Well, yeah, and I think, okay, so sidebar, I'm going to jump back in. But the first however long we've been on here proves a point.
What?
That, I believe that in our relationship, I'm an introvert, she's an extrovert. And for the first however long we've been on here, about 95% of the time she's been talking. Just kind of throw that out there.
Are you serious?
That she is the extrovert, I'm an introvert. Y'all may see me preaching and, ministering.
Do y'all agree?
Really
where are my real
introvert.
friends?
Yeah, your real friends know
where
that you're an extrovert.
People? I don't agree with this.
Because all you do is talk all day long.
I don't agree.
Okay, but back to where we were.
Sorry.
I think it's, so many millennials don't share their story. But there's also not a lot of millennials that have a story to share in this context because, we are, she's 31, I'm 30. And so we are at a stage where a lot of millennials are entering marriage. But the reality is, we are, 6 months away from celebrating our 7th wedding anniversary. And so it's something that's become very, clear to me over these last couple of weeks is just the reality that, though we're millennials, we really aren't a young married couple anymore.
Yeah, we're actually old.
And when we, conversations and like when we start looking back on the kind of the things we've dealt with and gone through, it becomes evident to us that we have a lot of stuff that is now, behind us. And we've crossed a lot of, we've crossed through a lot of stuff so far on this journey just in 6.5 years, really being in an adult relationship as far as being adults. Because remember, we were high school and college, but being an adult on our own for now, 8 years.
Yeah. And
so it causes us to have a different perspective that isn't often shared, but I think also doesn't really exist.
Sure.
And so, there's a platform that we have and, that we want to share more on because, it is tough. Marriage isn't, easy. I had a conversation today with someone that's, much older than me. But is married for a lot less.
Yeah.
And I found myself giving them a lot of, different tips on how to do things differently in their marriage. Because if you don't, you won't make it.
Yeah.
Tips and so often, we kind of jumping all over the place, but
yes, okay.
And so often a lot of times, people will look at marriage and look at kind of what we go through or just any marriage and they'll think that it's supposed to be easy or what you see on, Instagram or what you may see of me for those who may see me in church or ministering or Candice, live and doing her It Works thing as a network marketing maven. And they will think that, hey, you gotta love how you gotta throw that stuff in there.
Whatever.
And people will think that it's supposed to just, be like that.
Yeah.
But the reality is you gotta put the work in. You gotta put the work in. And you gotta understand that it takes work to get there. We are, 6.5 years in, 2 kids in. It's taking work to get here.
And I guess for, we've had this conversation too, and I want to kind of bring this up as we're talking through this. I guess, we understand, and I, talking to my friends and, other people and marriage groups and stuff like that, that marriage takes work. But people don't know what the work actually entails. They don't understand, and that's, to be very transparent, this is something that we've had to grow through. I think people assume that since we've been together so long that it's like, oh, y'all are good, like, you just, you click, like, you're together, you get it because you've been together so long, but not understanding that we've had to grow up together, we've had to learn each other and learn how to be married through not married through every season, but like we've had to learn how to be in the stages of our relationship together. And a lot of times we talk about the work part, but people don't really understand what that work looks like. And so I guess that's what we're kind of hoping, that us just kind of having this platform and having an open and very real conversation will just help people do. You agree?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, it takes work. A lot of times we want it, but we don't necessarily know how to put the work in.
Yeah.
And you have to, I would say the biggest takeaway or the biggest thing I would lend as far as the work is you have to work at creating a safe space. Your marriage has to be a safe space. You have to have a place where it has to be a place where you can share, your deepest, darkest thoughts, your deepest, darkest concerns, and feel as though the person who's there with you, your mate, will be accepting. Mm-hmm. And be able to walk with you on whatever journey that ensues. Mm-hmm. Whether that's a journey of, dealing with something that may have happened in the past that you have never dealt with, or even dealing with something that happened in the past that you thought you would never have to deal with. You have to have a safe space so that when you bump into it, it can come out. One of the things I've found, and we've kind of happened into it, over these 6 years or so, 6.5 years, is that there's a lot of stuff that happened in the BC life, before Candice life for me, and the BJ life, before Joshua life for her, that impacts what we do today.
Yeah.
While at the same time, there are also things that have happened in our lives outside of us, outside of the other, while we're together, that also requires us to deal with. And if we don't deal with them or have a safe space, then you will, the other person who's in it with you will suffer for something that they didn't do. There have been times where there were things that I noticed that weren't from me, but from other things that happened in her life that I had to call out. Mm-hmm. Because if I didn't call it out, and if we didn't, deal with it head on, it would linger and grow to where it may not have been our problem, but it caused a problem in our relationship. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, it's easy to try to hold stuff in and not deal with it. But the fact is, if you hold stuff in and don't deal with it, you're going to bump into it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when you bump into it on other terms and not on your terms, you can't always control the fallout.
There it is.
And so, I've learned as a millennial, it's important to deal with stuff because we don't have context in our, in our community, in our society, especially in our age range, mm-hmm. for how to deal with stuff.
Yeah.
Might deal with major stuff. And then on top of that, you add in the Christian foundation. And for me, as a ordained minister, a degree in seminary, but understanding a certain level of, what spiritual warfare is all about, you understand that there's warfare that you have to fight in your marriage. Marriage is a union that God created. It is in the union of marriage that we are able to see a glimpse of Jesus' relationship with the church. Mm-hmm. And so it's a perfect union, to become one. And so if you don't understand that that's what you were trying to model, you won't be able to fight the attacks when it comes. I remember vividly, we're in our basement right now. I remember standing at the bottom of the steps one day, and it was a Christmas day, and God said, "No, you're fighting against another force, and you have to fight this." Hey, you said you were going to show the intersection, but we had to fight it, and it was some generational stuff that God revealed to me. Said, "No, you fight this now, because this battle is not. We wrestle not against flesh and blood. This is not what you're seeing. This is something else. But if you don't fight it, it will gain access in." And so, even as millennials, understanding you have to have a faith background, mm-hmm. because marriage is a covenant before God and man. And because it's a covenant before God and man, you have to be able to fight it. So yes, right, Quita, that's right. You have to, in marriage, you have to be able to be your most vulnerable self with your partner.
Yeah. And that's something that we're not going to be on here too much long. I don't even know how long we've been on here. Oh, 30 minutes. We're going to be here for 30 minutes and move it down.
Or if y'all want to keep going.
Or we want to keep going.
You got her going.
Don't look.
She's the extrovert, remember.
Listen. Okay. But that's something that
I just say my point and then I feed back. Hoodie Mellow.
What? Who is he? Help. But no, that's something that we had to learn. And learning how to...
Oh, and that's important too. Brittany said a lot of millennials don't court anymore.
So
that's important.
We need to talk about this. So maybe before...
Say where you are.
Oh, I was going to say, we had to learn what it meant to like truly create that safe space for each other. And it's not something that we get perfect all the time. And we're very much open and excited to kind of have this dialogue with you guys now. As well as like our married friends, because
Shannon watching us.
Hi, because it's a very real thing, and understanding. We had to come to, like he just said, had to come to a place of like, hey, look, we're not fighting each other. Like he is not my enemy, and vice versa. When it came down to things and hurts and all of these kind of packages that you bring with you in your marriage that you don't even realize that you have until they explode, right? Mm-hmm. We had to come to a place where we decided together that we were going to be intentional about creating a space where we both could feel safe, and that no matter what, that circle of safety could not be broken, if that makes sense. So yeah.
So let's say this. So we're talking about creating a safe space, and it's so important because you cannot have any, I believe that you cannot have any deep conversations or let me rephrase that. You can't deal with any significant issues without having a safe space. So every relationship, you have to have rules in terms of engagement. Mm-hmm. One of the terms of engagement that, my dad gave me that I think we've internalized is that whenever you have a disagreement or, you frustrated, got an argument, you always start from the place of, this is not going to break us up. We're going to fuss. We may, raise our voice. Mm-hmm. But this is not going to break us up. And if we start from that, that defines the engagement. Another place we learn that we have to go to, and I think we do better at it now than we did early on in the marriage and while we were younger, is that you have to share your disagreements in a respectful way. Mm-hmm. Just because you don't like what your mate did doesn't give you the license to disrespect them. Right. And it's easy to fall into the trap of saying I'm in a battle, I need to throw everything I got. Reality is you may be upset because they ain't take the trash out, but that don't mean you need to blow the whole house up because the trash stank. Because at the end of the day, if the trash gets taken out, the smell is gone.
And it's over.
But if you blew the whole house up, you can take the trash out and the smell will be gone.
Right.
But you have no house left. And that's something as millennials always see, kind of is.
It's a very instantaneous reaction. And so everything that we're talking to you guys about, we've had like very intentional conversations about. And like you said, we live in a very instantaneous culture, and so what that kind of translates into it translates into when it comes to, I said that 18 times, but your marriage and your relationship is that we need to make a decision right away. We need to come to an agreement right away. We need to make very final statements if it's an argument or whatever that looks like.
We need to win.
We need to win right away. And that's something that, ultimately...
It's not married. You don't get married to win.
Yeah.
Like, nobody... in marriage, there aren't winners and losers. Right. They're partners. And if she loses, I lose. If I lose, she loses. It's not about scoring points. There's no... love doesn't count who wins and who loses, and you have a score sheet. And, you know, it's difficult because, you know, I say, it's something I say, like when I do, you know, marry someone, I talk about it. But the reality is, you know, we live in a culture where marriage is seen as something that you do for a reason.
Right.
Not as something that you do because you understand it.
Right.
You do it because it, you know, you get great pictures.
Right.
You know, wedding pictures are great.
Right. That's what
you know, you get a ring. You know, it's great. Get some engagement pictures. You know, we streamed our engagement live. You know, back in 2011. Boy, could nobody touch it. I don't even remember what platform I streamed it on, but we had streamed it live in 2011. Our family was watching. Everybody knew it was coming except for her. And, you know, it was great. You took engagement shoot. Shout out to Michael Clark. We did, you know, great wedding pictures. Great party. Great, you know, great everything. Honeymoon. Great. Got to go out the country. All this stuff. But that's not why you get married.
Well, and then we realized this is like, I think this was like the aha moment for both of us. We went to Rita's, literally Italian Nice, after we got married. So we got married like midday reception. Everything was done before the evening. Everybody goes home. We change clothes. We're like, let's go grab Italian Nice because that's our thing.
We went past because it was Preakness Day, so we couldn't get on the highway.
So we go and we realized in that moment that nobody cared that we just got married. And then I think in that moment, both of us were just like, oh, crap. Like, this is real life. Like, this is it just got real. Like, this is real. You're not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. Nobody actually cares about all the money we just spent and all the people that just came to our wedding and all this big. Nobody cares about that. We just walked into real life. And I think in that moment, it hit us. And ever since, you know, our life together, I feel like has not moved quickly, but we've evolved together.
Yeah, we were 15 when we started talking. Like we literally started talking 2003. We kind of met.
Yeah.
You know, October 2003 when we formally met, and like we had kind of known of each other. She, I think, heard about me that I was interested. You know, so some level. Excuse me. She heard of some level that I was interested. I didn't know her, but literally, it's kind of fitting. I just did that because that's how we met. I didn't realize.
I was talking about something else.
But I'm getting there. I'm getting there. And so we were 15, 16 where we started. So we went through all of that, and we knew each other. You know, at each stage of that life of, you know, kind of, you know, the upper years of high school, college, and so forth. We were, you know, probably the primary relationship in each other's lives in those from really, I would say 2004 on. You know, of course, you know, still had parents and all of that, but from 2004 on, you know, we were kind of, you know, the main relationship where we spent most of our time talking and, you know, free time that we had together. And so we were there with each other through all of that. But where we didn't know, and you don't really find out, and you don't really learn until you get married, was that we still really didn't know each other.
Yeah.
We had a level, but there was a whole lot under the surface that we did a good job. Well, no, I won't say that we hid.
I don't know that we knew how.
We didn't know. I would even go to say we didn't even know was there.
I would.
Like I don't think we knew because remember we were 24
when
we got married, and so I don't think we really understood the depth of what was under the surface, and in some cases we didn't know until one of us bumped into it
by accident.
And I would even say there's even still layers that we bump into now.
Well, I think that's just the intricacies of people, right? And so those of you guys that are watching that may be married or in relationships or even single, like your relationships are a lot more complex than we sometimes give them credit for. And a lot of times we miss out on opportunities and relationships and rekindling, or not rekindling, but I don't really know the word. Rekindling, for lack of better terms.
Like past relationships.
Yeah, or like reigniting current relationships, like that we may feel are dead because we don't address the underlayers of what's there.
Oh yeah, if you don't address what's under the surface, no matter how good the relationship is, it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
And for us, one of the blessings is because of the journey we took, and because we took a Christian approach to marriage, and before marriage and then in marriage, it allowed us not to have some stuff to deal with.
Yeah.
That being said, that's not everybody's story, and so is not to put down anybody else's, but it's to cause you to understand other stuff that may be on the surface. Like for instance, somebody who may have had meets the person that they want to be with in their mid-20s has a different narrative than we did.
Right.
We were 15. I was a sophomore. It was October of my sophomore year of high school when we met. And so there wasn't but so much life I had before I met her.
Right.
She was a year ahead of me in school, but she's only 2 months older than me. And so there was only but so much life she had before we met. And so some stuff that we had to deal with that was under the surface wasn't because of other relationships.
It was just life.
It was life. And our stories and our narratives are different. Our upbringings are different. It's just different. Yeah. And so the things that produce one set of, issues or one set of, under the surface stuff in me, she didn't deal with. Stuff that she dealt with, I didn't deal with. Yeah. One of the things that, that is a blessing for me is because I grew up in a family that was in ministry, in a large church. Though I didn't deal with some of the stuff she lived through, I was exposed to it. And so a lot of times people don't have a context. I had context, so there were things that she lived through that was not a shock to me. Though I didn't live with it, I had seen or heard or knew people who lived through it before. And so it allowed me then in times to speak into her in ways that, God allows. And same flip side as well, times where she had to speak into me. But we had to, bringing it full circle, we had to have a safe space.
Right.
Which we didn't always have. There were times where we bump into stuff and I'd be like, I would shut the door and say, I'm not dealing with that with you. Or stuff that she bumped into, she shut the door. I'm like, I'm not dealing with that with you. But I would say in the last 12 months, the ebb and flow and where we are in life and, getting to 30 and then kind of seeing things a little differently, it caused us both to become aware that if we want a marriage, and for me, I can speak for me specifically, it said if I want a marriage that I can talk to my spouse about anything, I have to be willing to talk to my spouse about anything. And there were a couple situations where I made a conscious effort, knowing that her response would not be favorable. And I remember, a couple of months ago, I went through a situation that was a very high in my profession, in ministry. And I was on, cloud 9. And it was a new experience that I'd never had before. And I thought to myself, I said, I want to be able to share this fully with my spouse. And I said, and I felt like I couldn't in the moment. But I said, I have to be intentional about doing it. Because if I don't want to build, in this layer of the foundation, a marriage, especially for me as a minister, where I feel like I can't talk to my spouse about it. Because if I don't have that, then I'll be looking for it somewhere, which leads you to, issues. Not that you're looking for it in another woman, no. That you're looking for it in other places. That may be through some of my friends or anything. But then that's time and energy that should be here that I'm now putting somewhere else. And because of it, it has ripple effects.
Right.
And then I am living in a space that she doesn't know. Mm-hmm. Not that, you know, and again, it's not that you live in a secret life. Like, everything in marriage is not about, you know, you got to do it so you don't start cheating. It's not, you know, marriage is more complex than that. Yeah. If that's the biggest issue you got, then really you in a, you know, decent spot. If the biggest issue is you just hoping that they don't, you know, saying, hey, well, you know, I hope they don't cheat. If that's the only thing you worried about in marriage, then that's an easy fix.
Yeah. Just don't.
Right, just don't. But it's, you know, it's the other stuff that becomes the hard work. But it was intentional. I said, and I remember we got in the car, she was driving, and I said, how do you feel about this?
I did not have a favorable response.
And instead of me blowing off and whatever, I said no. I said, for where we're going and where we want to be able to share in these moments, we said no, we gotta push through this. And I told her, I said, I respect where you feel, but I need you to wrestle with it enough to move beyond it. Just like some things that she required of me to grow, I had to understand that it wasn't about me. It wasn't about me. It was about the journey she was on. And if I did not understand that, I would have made it about me. I would have made it about how I feel. Made it about how this, you know, what I think about this. Made it about all that. But I had to understand that this wasn't about me. This was about her. And if I can be there for her, I will get what I need. And so that's, you know, as we, you know, talk about creating that safe space, you have to be willing to go into it, not knowing what's there. You know, you go into, you know, the most difficult but also the most fulfilling thing about, you know, being in a relationship and being in marriage is being able to walk into a door that you don't know what's on the other side.
But trust, I feel like trust, and I think, I don't know where we are on time, but trusting your spouse enough.
We can time, you know, it's in that. Actually, the longer your video is, the more you rank in engagement. FYI.
Just FYI.
That's free. That's free advice from Profusion.
Social media building 101.
The longer your video is, the more you rank, because what's important and that factors into the algorithm is watch time.
It's really irritating. I'm sorry.
So
I love you so much.
Longer videos tend to have more watch time, which allows it to rank higher.
There you go.
In the algorithm.
So
that's for all of you network marketing mavens.
Don't do.
Who's still on for your team? Dejanay still on?
Oh, he's calling out Dave.
Gloria, you on here?
Gloria's not on.
Gloria, somebody call Glow and tell her to get on here.
Oh, Dejanay.
Is Candice on?
No.
Where's Candice?
I can't see.
It's an hour behind in Indiana.
I can't see all of who's. I don't think.
Yeah, it's an hour behind in Indiana. She don't have no excuse not to be on.
I don't think it is though.
Candice, you better be on the next one.
I don't think it is. No. Okay, so,
Quita, I'm seeing your comments. So we're going.
Keep sending the comments. So let's do this before we hop off of here.
Well, we gotta finish. You were about to chime in on that piece.
Oh no, I was
talking about how you have to create safe space and walk through the door.
So he was talking about walking into spaces where you don't know what's on the other side, and what I was saying was making sure that you can protect your spouse in the process. And so this particular instance that he's talking about, I did not have a favorable response at all. But I think both of us were in a space of being being willing to intentionally be vulnerable and transparent and open about how we felt, because we knew that this was something that impacted both of us. And so to not do that doesn't create a safe space. To not do that shuts the door of communication. And it would have pushed us
you
further away from each other and our goal. So.
Oh yeah, and so, you know, we're gonna stay here because this is good stuff. And so
can we ask them, like, what do they think? First of all, let me just say this. I love you. One second. I love y'all, but like my side is very quiet.
They watching.
They got all the comments on his side. Let me tell you guys how this is set up. So my phone is here. Josh's phone is here. Okay. All his people got a lot to say. What do you?
So my phone is the one with the correct headroom.
What?
See, you don't even get it. Don't move it. Don't move it. I don't know if that one can withstand. Now it's crooked.
Ooh.
Don't move. I don't know if that tripod can withstand.
Boom. Okay. It's still crooked, but it's good.
Well, no, it's better.
We're here. This is where we are. So.
What's up, iPhone?
What do the comments say?
Okay, so we're gonna jump back into the comments are following along where we are. Really, kind of really talking about.
So we don't
how
it's important. all the stuff.
Well, no, we're just talking about safe space.
Okay. Share this video also, you guys. Just FYI.
Yeah. So one was talking about how in marriage you have to be your most vulnerable self, right? So one of the challenges that a lot of marriages fall into is that if you aren't vulnerable with your spouse, you will be vulnerable with someone. We're built to be in relationship. And so if you don't allow your spouse in, somebody's going to get in. That's not heavy. Okay, full disclosure. I had to drop something off at my parents' house. As I was riding home, I got to preach tomorrow. I was literally working on something, and that's important in the service.
Oh
so
my God.
That's why. But, and so we are designed to be in connection and community, and connection and relationship. And so if you're not vulnerable with your spouse, the likelihood is you're gonna be vulnerable with somebody, and the devil will find a way in.
This is true.
Like
that doesn't have to be like a person of the opposite sex. That's like your homegirl. It's like, girl, your husband is trifling.
Right. That's somebody you give space to speak into your life.
Yeah.
That is not vested in you the way your spouse is. For some, that may be your parents.
That's also true.
You give your parents the access in so that their word goes. And as Brittany was saying, how it gets difficult with when you have kids. Then when you have children and you gotta make a difficult decision, you listen to your mother or your father. You love that Baltimore. You listen to them more than you listen to your spouse. And your spouse has to have the loudest voice in your head behind God. And if you don't give them that, then really you're doing them a disservice.
So we have to talk about this too before we get off, because this is good. Brittany, we see your comments on here. So Brittany talked about, we're going to skip to this and then...
Which one? The one about...
The kids. So Brittany said, basically being present in each other's journey, and then once you have kids, that changes. So I feel like we need to save this for an actual, like this needs to be an actual...
We just started a watch party, so we got to stay on for a little bit.
Oh, yeah!
M2 in the house. Which I know about.
Watch party? I feel
well, no, let's stay right there. Let's stay right there. And so let's stay right there. And so
I live at height.
You have to, you have to share your journey, but you also have to understand the reality. Oh yeah.
No, we need to come back to this.
No, let's stay on this one for the kids.
Okay, go ahead.
And so, something that I read recently or heard in a podcast. The most important relationship in your household is your relationship with your spouse.
Yeah.
More important than your relationship with your kids.
Oh, you had to read the thing.
You read it.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
You read it. Being present in each other's journey is hard. Having a baby changed the journey.
Yeah.
Right. And so, it is more important for you to be a better spouse than a better parent.
Because when you're a better spouse, you can be better parents together.
Right. And so, the reality is this. Okay. Tweet that.
Hashtag.
And so, right, oh God. So the reality is, so often we flip it. And we spend so much time, focusing on parenting.
Yeah.
That, and this is not our story just because of time, but I've heard from others that when your kids get to 18 and go off, you left looking, empty nest, and you're looking at strangers.
And I'll be very transparent. That was the narrative of my parents. That was the narrative of, and now that I think about it, we just talked about this the other day, most of my friend circle has the same narrative where we grew up, and I'll just, just talking about me, and if you guys relate to this, let us know. But I remember very vividly growing up, in my close circle of friends and even my family was full of functional married couples. And then all of a sudden we all became adults and divorces were just popping, just one after the other. And that was something that was very, very difficult for me to understand, number one. And it was also a thing that when it came to our marriage, I was like, okay, well, what happens when we have kids? So continue.
And so you have to be, because if you don't nurture that, when it's, God, you can be a good parent. Well, no, let me phrase that. I don't believe, when the children come in the context of marriage, that you can be a good parent and not be a good spouse. I don't believe, because though you may see yourself as being a good parent, giving all to your child, making sure that they can get to every single sporting event that they have, making sure they're in every single club, in every activity. I don't believe that you can be a good parent and not be a good spouse. But I do believe that the better spouse you are, the better parent you are. Because if you're showing love to your spouse, you will then also show love to your children.
Agreed.
But if you show love to your children and not your spouse, what love are you really showing to your child? You are showing that love picks and chooses.
Ooh.
And so it's something that, Ava was born in 2014.
Yeah.
And so we had a year, essentially 2 years before Ava was born. And, we up and did stuff. And so we had 2 years before she was born. We also had, 3 years or 2 years when we were both back home from school.
Yeah.
And so we had
adult life.
So we had about 5 years or 4 years or so of, adult life, where you're working and you can live and you can kind of, up and go places, go to the movies, mall, hang out, and kind of do stuff on your own way. Then Ava came and that all changed. One of the things that we used to do often was just up and go to the movies. I remember vividly times coming home from work saying, hey, I'll be home at 7. The movie starts at 7:15 in Columbia.
Literally.
And she was like, we ain't gonna make it. We get in the car and we would sit down right as the little promo came to turn off your phones and the movie would start. And I would look at her again and say, I still got it. But then when you get kids, you can't do that no more. Like, it's you going out is a whole production.
A whole
Gotta find babysitters. You gotta pack the bag. You gotta get the bottles together. You gotta get extra change of clothes.
God forbid somebody has a meltdown or a poop explosion.
Right, and you never get out the time you want. You're always late, never on time. Yeah. It's the nature. And we went away for our anniversary in 2015 when Ava was 1. Mm-hmm. No, she wasn't 1 yet. She was almost 1. Mm-hmm. In 2016, our plan was to go to Jamaica. We were going away again. But Candice, and those of you who watch her story, so I'm not letting the cat out the bag, she lost her job in 16.
What? I was gonna be like, is there something? I don't know.
Oh no, you said in your live, so I said she lost her job in 16, so that put all our plans on hold. Joshua was born 17. 18, we had 2 kids, and so we went away family vacation, Virginia Beach with our entire family. But we hadn't gone away just the 2 of us. We gone away, gone like weekend little things, up, until, the mountains around here and stuff like that. But we hadn't been able to go away like we wanted. And for, a couple of weeks ago, Candice was saying what she wanted to do for her birthday. And she was like, I want to go see Backstreet Boys in Vegas. I'm sitting there like, come on, dude. Like, why didn't you tell me this months in advance? We could have got, good price tickets and whatever. And so I started looking it up, tickets, what tickets cost. I knew I had Southwest points, but I didn't also want to use, I didn't also want to use all the points. And so I said, yeah, we can use it, but then I got to use all my points. We're trying to get timeshares. We couldn't get the first timeshare and whatever.
They don't need to know all these details.
But hey, this is the story. You said we gotta be open and transparent.
We are talking about.
I'm going somewhere.
Okay.
I'm going somewhere. I'm going somewhere. How many times I gotta tell you I'm a Baptist preacher?
Don't be telling them my business either.
So, make a long story short, since she like the members who's ready to go eat some chicken, I got all the information. It was going back and forth, and I said, all right, just do it. And so we got the tickets. We went, and we were away for 4 days. It was the longest we've been away since our honeymoon.
Literally. That's
and
crazy. I didn't even realize that. I just thought.
I realized it the third day when we didn't have to leave. I realized the third day we didn't have to leave.
God, it was.
But what I realized was that we have to make this a priority.
Yeah.
And so babies change the journey, and they're a great thing. But you still have to find ways.
Right. And it doesn't mean that they're not a priority. Like, I think people get that confused, and they are like, well, then if my marriage is a priority or my kid's not a priority. No, they're a separate priority. They're not one and the same. They are not apples and apples. It's two separate things.
Right. There's a different space. You have a different type of love that you give them.
Right.
Than what you give your spouse. Neither of which can you afford to neglect.
Right.
But both of which are equally as important. And you gotta keep them balanced. So we haven't always done it right. Mm-hmm. And I would say it's probably harder for me because of the nature of my job. Yeah. My job working in full-time ministry requires a lot of me, a lot of demands on my time. But also a lot of demands, emotionally. And it can be challenging at times, to come home. Candice is a stay-at-home mom, so to come home into a house where there's, 2 kids that are alive and
always, because they have
charged.
0.
And that can be a lot because I'm leaving a job where things are charged, emotionally invested, and especially in my position, having such the level of responsibility that I do is a weight that I have to carry. But I have to understand that I have to be present, but I also have to make time. And so, like, for instance, this right now is us making time. It doesn't have to look like a trip all the time, or it doesn't have to look like a date night where you're going out getting babysitters. It's spending time.
I mean, because honestly and truly, nobody has time for that all the time.
Yeah, and okay, so this is where it really get real. And this is where you get to see the real side of me.
What?
So people who always post being out with kids.
Don't do that.
No, hear what I'm saying. People who always post and they're out, they have kids, but they're always out. They're not, that can't be real.
Stop, we're not going down.
No, hear what I'm saying. That's not a realistic expectation because what you see is probably really not where they are.
True.
And so don't think that you have to always be like,
mentally.
You have to can maintain the life because life does change.
Yes.
And so you understand life does change. Now, does that mean your life never is what it was? No, you find a balance. But don't feel like, especially those who don't have kids, who may see people with kids, or for those who have kids that see others with kids,
right.
And you feel like this is like, how do they do it? Don't take it for what you see it. There's another side there.
Yeah, there's a level.
Yeah.
We're not. Yeah.
Right, there's another side there. Not there's negative, but there's another layer that they have that you don't see.
Yeah, that's true.
Whether that's they have a nanny, or they have an au pair, or they have family that always has the kids, or whatever that allows them to maintain it, which for some is what they need.
That's true.
That wasn't like we weren't out like that in the in that world.
That just wasn't our that just wasn't. And I guess I am very mindful of if that's your thing, that's your thing, and that's fine. We've talked about this before as well. We have made a conscious decision to make parenting a top priority. And so what that means for us is, and I'm not saying that other people don't prioritize their kids or however you choose to do that. Like, that's absolutely your choice. But we have made a decision as a married couple and as parents that aside from our marriage, our children are the next priority. And so it's just very much reflected in how we live, and we stand on that very unapologetically. Like, it's just not even up for discussion. But yeah, so I mean, we understand, and I think, you know, we'll do another one of these, and we'll kind of be very transparent about our parenthood journey, because that's a whole separate thing.
Yeah.
But you know, it does change your kind of ability to just always be, you know, as present in each other's individual journeys as you could be, because parenthood is parenthood. If y'all got kids, like, you understand.
Oh,
like,
especially got young kids.
It's crazy, and we got 2 under the age of 5. And so it gets crazy, but again, you know, we have to remind ourselves to come back to this place of like, okay, like, they're asleep, like, this is us, like, we back.
We'll do another one on that.
Let's get it together.
I'll tell you what happened to our kids. One at 2 weeks and one other at 4 months.
What? Oh, God. Look, I thought he was about to say something. I don't know what he was about to say. We'll talk about that later.
We'll talk about that in another one. But, you know, you just gotta be, you know, it's a journey.
It is. And, you know,
and you have to, your marriage has to be
a
priority. No, let me rephrase that. Your marriage has to be the priority.
There you go.
And so, you know, your relationship you know, from the Christian perspective, your relationship with God is your central relationship.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that is what grounds you, and that's what orients you to everything. Then from there, you have your connection that God has given you to your spouse, which then becomes the next spot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I saw Brittany and some others talked about how you can't, you know, tell your parents everything. You can't have every conversation with your parents. You can't. You know, God didn't call you to be married to your parents.
Period.
Like, that's weird. You know, just on the, you know, the basis this. Now, you know, I have a great relationship with my parents. Candice has a great relationship with her mom. And
we have a great relationship with each other's parents.
Right.
We'll talk about that later too.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in another one. Yeah, because I've known, her mother has known me since I was 15.
And vice versa.
And they've both seen us do very dumb things.
What?
Some very stupid things. Oh, God. Flashbacks. Woo.
So we'll talk about that too.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Need to, like, I need to make a list of like what we need to talk about.
Who's still on from your team?
They still here. Hi, you guys.
Well, ask them to keep a list for us.
No, so this is what we're gonna do. If you guys want to travel this journey with us, number 1, give us some hearts. Go right ahead. Because that's really what
I'm getting. What's up, Nikki and Courtney? They said they watching.
I'm watching this like it's TV. Girl, listen. Don't like.
Is your popcorn ready? But no, you know, it's good. And so, again, for the algorithm, we've gone over an hour, which is the Holy Grail. We'll go ahead. Go ahead, extrovert Candice.
If you guys want to take this journey with us, give us some hearts. Okay? Let us know that you like this, that you want to continue this conversation. We'll call it the White Couch Talk.
The Wildcat. Who said that?
At the red table. Oh my God, I'm so whack. Okay. They got it. So, mind your business.
You have to be a network marketing maven.
Stop. Do not. Dude, please don't.
To get that.
Please don't. Please don't. But yeah, so give us some hearts if you want to travel this journey with us. The next thing we're going to have you guys do, because if you're on my team, you know I like to give you guys homework. Post in the comments from us. I was about to say for me. Post in the comments for us some stuff, some conversations that you want to have. Candid conversations about marriage, relationships, parenthood, whatever.
Yeah, we create a title. So yeah,
Stop it.
we just said we gotta have a title too. So we'll come up with something.
Yeah, we'll come up. Give us some ideas. Who has an idea? We used to have the Candice and Joshua show. We're not doing that.
Yeah, I proposed to her in the Candice and Joshua show.
He did.
Streamed live. I don't even remember what. I can't remember what. It may have been Ustream.
I don't know. Everybody was there, and I didn't even know that people were watching me, and I was being really ratchet.
Watching videos.
Watching music videos.
I don't even play videos no more. Where do you watch videos now? Like,
I don't know.
MTV don't play them.
MTV.
VH1 don't play them.
Did in 2011.
Well, one of those other channels.
I don't know, but it was like Cash Money or something.
Cash Money. Oh my God. Oh my God.
So yes, so drop in the comments, you guys, some stuff that you want to talk about, some conversations, candid conversations that we should have on this.
Dejanay, we're live. Why are you sending Candice messages in her messenger?
Stop it! That is my group chat.
I'm messing with you. Dejanay's my homegirl.
Don't let him call you up. It's all love.
Well, Gloria, I was watching a live video of Gloria yesterday. She was good.
He's not on here yet, I don't think.
Yeah, Glo, you in trouble.
Wow, I'm gonna have to tag her in this just so that she knows.
She's in trouble.
Somebody let Gloria know this.
Candice in trouble too. It's an hour behind in Indiana.
No, it's not.
Yeah, they're
no,
Central
she's
Time.
Not.
They're Central Time.
Okay. So drop in the comments. I think some people have already put stuff.
Yep. Oh yeah, I see some popping in.
Marriage, Love, and Ministry. Oh, that's so cute. Okay. Okay. So we need title suggestions. We also need conversation starters. Is that what it is?
So what are we gonna talk about next time?
Topics. So what do you guys want to talk about next time? Let us know. I want to hear real quick before we get up off here. What we talking about? What we talking about?
Nikki, stop texting. Nikki and Courtney, y'all can't text. Y'all gotta send it in the comments.
Do that.
Yeah, I can. This is the Joshua and Candice show. We can do whatever we want.
No, we can't. Number one.
Yeah, I'm putting it on YouTube. That's why we're recording it. It's gonna be on YouTube.
Make sure you put this on YouTube. Wow. It's intense. Okay. Okay. So, thank you guys. This is fun. If you're watching the replay of this, you know what to do in the comments. Hashtag replay for us. And we will see you guys.
So how do you follow us, Candice? Tell them how to follow us.
What do you mean?
If somebody who's watching mine doesn't follow you, somebody who's watching yours doesn't follow me, how can they see?
Click my name and click the follow button. How? What do you mean? How do you follow us?
What's your name on Instagram and social media outlets?
I'm at the Millennial, 2 L's, 2 N's, matriarch on Instagram.
I'm at Rev J Thomas, REVJTHOMAS. Follow us. Stay in tune. We'll be back.
We'll
let us know.
Next week.
Okay.
Yes, we will.
All right. I guess we'll come back next week.
Okay, that's we're done.
Oh my gosh! What was that? See y'all.